Hi, this is Alan Schimmel of DevOps.com, and we're here at the DevOps Enterprise Summit, and we're very lucky to be speaking to Anders Wallgren, CTO of Electric Cloud.
Hi, how are you?
Good, Anders, welcome to our show. Welcome, and thank you for sponsoring.
Oh, absolutely, my pleasure.
As we can see in the names behind here, Electric Cloud's one of the speakers, one of the sponsors, but you're actually one of the speakers.
Yeah, no, I have the pleasure of doing a couple of pretty interesting panels and doing a talk on microservices on Wednesday. So, looking forward to that.
Why don't you give our listeners a little preview of your talk on Wednesday?
Yeah, so microservices has really kind of come to the fore in the last, I would say a couple of years. It's been around in various incarnations for a long time. Service-oriented architecture, yes, decomposition, all of those types of things. But what we're really starting to understand now is that microservices can have a dramatic impact on your ability to scale an organization. And the DevOps report that IT Revolution and the Puppet folks put out this year really has a lot of data talking about how you can really start to kind of crack the mythical man month even a little bit.
Right.
If you have an application which is architected for microservices and you're deploying as microservices, and you can build lots of independent teams around them. So that's kind of an interesting insight, I think, and a little bit controversial because the mythical man month is still true.
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily going away. You can crack it, but yeah. Anders, one of the things I find interesting as an observer, a fly on the wall in the DevOps and technology space in my role, is we're seeing how closely related containers are to microservices.
Yeah,
they seem to go hand in hand.
They're starting to a little bit, and I think the nice thing about containers is it gives you an ability to kind of move an environment and its code along at the same time. Right. It's a very interesting concept, right? That you don't necessarily promote bits, you promote entire environments, right? And that really can dramatically simplify a lot of the things that you're doing.
Yeah.
It also complicates things a little bit. Orchestrating containers is interesting. Orchestrating microservices is interesting. There are definitely trade-offs. Nothing in life is ever for free, as we well know.
Now you know it.
Yeah. but it's a really interesting technology, and people are doing some really, really cool stuff with it.
Agreed, 100%. And Anders, you mentioned you're on a few panels too. Just quickly, you want to?
One panel on automation that we just concluded, and then another panel where we're talking about basically how DevOps is not just for the unicorns and even the horses,
right?
But even for companies with large legacy code bases, and how can you crack that nut a little bit in terms of being more agile, being more DevOps, being more doing more CD, even if you're starting from a shall we say disadvantageous position.
Right.
And I think that's a really interesting topic because most of the software that's out there today is not properly architected.
Right.
And there's not a lot of greenfields out there. So
absolutely. Anders, Electric Cloud was one of the sponsors of last year's event. Again, this year's event. What do you see as the biggest difference between last year and this year?
Well, probably the most obvious one is it's twice as big as it was last year.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I was kind of stunned when we broke in the morning and went to lunch because the line just was from here to Egypt. I think also actually one really interesting thing, we really try to kind of balance a little bit between having lots of new speakers and also having speakers come back from last year. And I think the interesting thing as with sort of the target talk this morning is, well, here's what's happened in the last year.
Sure.
So you kind of get to hear not only what did we do before, but where have we gone since then. And I think that's kind of interesting.
I think also what's interesting, Anders, is where we were seeing maybe Target represent retail last year. This year you'll have multiple retails.
Yeah.
Last year you saw nationwide maybe in insurance or banking, and this year you're going to have multiple insurance and banking stories.
Yep.
And I think that really goes towards just the depth and breadth of the adoption of DevOps.
Absolutely.
And DevOps patterns.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's gone from being this sort of mystical kind of thing. You can't really believe that it's actually true. And
an empty genie bottle.
Exactly. And of course, lots of people saying, well, that will never work for us. We've got a special process. We're different. And I think people are starting to realize, look, this really works across the board, and is a really valuable technology and technique.
Fantastic. We're almost out of time on this, but I wanted to ask you, so we've seen such evolution in the last 12, 24 months. what do you think we're looking at in DevOps in the next 3 to 5 years?
That's a really interesting question. I think one of the big things that we're trying to figure out ourselves right now is what part will containers play in this? Will they become as dominant as virtual machines are, for example? We're also trying to figure out, what are the constraints around containers? What can't you do? What are you giving away by using containers? And I think, increased adoption of cloud services. We're seeing a lot too. We're seeing that even in banks and financial institutions now are running their production stuff in AWS and those types of things, which just a few years ago was unthinkable. So I think the rate of change will accelerate, and it's going to be an interesting few years, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'd like to just. Actually, maybe I will be the fly on the wall who gets to see it all. But Anders, thank you for appearing here today.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Oh,
my pleasure.
Thank Electric Cloud for sponsoring the summit.
Our pleasure.
This is Alan Schimmel, DevOps.com for DOES 2015.